Lo tevashel gidi bika levemo.
What does this mean?
You shall not boil a kid in milk of its mother. As stated in Exodus 23:19, Exodus 34:26, and Deuteronomy 14:21.
Why does the Torah have to repeat this 3 times?
The Rambam points out in the Mishnah Torah that the fact that the prohibition against mixing meat and milk is repeated 3 times in the Torah implies a threefold ban. 1. Meat and milk must not be eaten together. 2. They must not be cooked together. And 3. It is forbidden to derive benefit food containing a mixture of milk and meat. Violations of this law were subject to a penalty of flogging. Alternatively, one may claim that the bashal, or creation, of the mixture is the primary issue, and as a result, one may not consume that which was created through the violation. The Sefer Heter's Mitzvos says this negative mitzvah forbids us to cook milk and meat together. All kosher kitchens should have separate counters, dishes, pots and silverware for meat and milk, in order not to mix the two together. The second time the verse teaches us that we are not allowed to eat meat and dairy foods together. We must wait a certain amount of time after eating meat before we may eat milk products. Usually the waiting time is 6 hours, though some families have different traditions about the amount of time which they wait between meat and milk. After eating milk products, we should wait at least 1/2 an hour, 30 minutes, or rinse our mouths thoroughly before eating meat. The Rambam in the Mishnah Torah quotes the Gemara in Makos, which says one who cooks the jidhanash on Yom Tov in milk and eats it, he suffers 5 lashes. 1 because he ate the jid, 2nd because he cooked it on Yom Tov, 3rd he cooked meat in milk, 4th he ate meat and milk, and 5th he lit a fire. In the Gemara in Kulin also expresses this point. The prohibition is compared to kmetz on Passover. You may not cook it, eat it, or derive benefit from it. The Rambam says if swallowed what is forbidden to eat you are punished unless you're burned your throat with it, unless it's meat and milk. If you are eating meat and milk, even if you burn your throat, you are violating the prohibition. The Rambam implies that one may draw a kale v'choma. If cooking is prohibited, certainly eating is as well. What is the nature of this kale v'choma? Apparently, the Torah prohibited not only eating basar bikalev, but also the preparation for eating it. Therefore, since bashal, the preparation of basar bikalev, is prohibited, it is clear that eating the mixture is also prohibited. Interestingly, Rav Moshe Soloveitchik, based on this Rambam, ruled that one may cook meat and milk together for a scientific experiment in which there is clearly no intention to eat the mixture. Did you know it is permissible to mix the meat of a kosher animal in the milk of a non-kosher animal, or the meat of a non-kosher animal or fowl in the milk of a kosher animal, as long as one does not eat the mixture but merely derives some benefit from it, such as giving it to a non-Jew?
Fascinating. Now I do.
Also, the rabbis designated a waiting period between meat and milk products. It is customary for a 6-hour waiting period between meat and milk. Some wait 3 hours, while others wait for 1 hour. According to some commentaries, the reason for the rabbinic prohibition is because of the taste remaining in the palate after eating meat. Others explain that it is due to the meat particles which are caught between the teeth. The mixing of meat and milk products, though not cooked together, would make a person indifferent to the prohibition, and he might eventually come to cook the milk in the meat products. It is similarly prohibited to eat meat within 6, or 3, or 1, or whatever your custom is, hours after eating hard cheese.
So this prohibition only applies to animals who give milk themselves?
No, because while the Torah only speaks of the meat of an animal which gives milk, that is, a mammal, the Sefer Heter Shinuk included the meat of a poultry and all other meat as well. He says that even though it just says kid, all other animals are implied.
What do different commentaries have to say regarding this mitzvah?
The Ebenezer says that this mitzvah is compared to Shiliwig Heter's Ken, sending the mother bird before taking the young from her nest, because in both instances the quality of humanism is stressed. Rashburn points out that the word kid was specified in the prohibition because in biblical times goat's milk was in abundant supply and therefore frequently used in the cooking of meat. He also considers the practice of seething a kid in its mother's milk as denoting gross insensitivity and cruelty. T.H.E. Kleyaka says that a calf in the embryonic stage, like a human being, is conceived and develops through the nourishment of its mother's blood. Milk, another product of the animal, is also a derivative of its mother's blood. The mitzvah is mentioned, Deuteronomy 14:21, immediately before the commandments to tithe all one's fruit in order to stress that, even as the first fruits must not be mixed with later fruits of the same tree in the process of teething, so the kid must not be cooked in milk, although both are products of the bloodstream at the dam. The Gemara, Chaline 113, says, "How do we know that one may not eat Beisar Bikalev?" It says, "One should not eat anything which is abominable." To Eva, Devarim 14:3, "Anything which I despise is included and may not be eaten." And how do we know that it is prohibited to derive benefit from this mixture? As Rav Abahu says, any place where the Torah says, "Do not eat," an Ishahanwa is implied, unless the Torah explicitly says otherwise, as it does regarding Nevela. The Minchashinuk regards the mixing of milk and meat as an interference with the laws of nature, because he considers the kid and the milk of its mother to symbolize two distinct aspects of the animal's life cycle. He disagrees with the Rambam's explanation for the prohibition, namely, that mixing meat and milk was a pagan custom and therefore improper practice for the Jews.
So, rather than to show kindness to the animal, the Rambam says the purpose of the prohibition is to distinct ourselves from the pagan custom?
Correct.
How do we know that this is the correct purpose of the prohibition?
The main reason for this mitzvah is not clear. It is referred to as a choke, a statute that we fulfill simply because it is the will of GD, although we don't understand it.
If you are eating milk, can you eat with someone who is eating meat?
Two acquaintances may not share a table if one is eating dairy products and the other is eating meat products, even if the two would not normally share food, unless they set up a reminder to ensure that they will not share food from each other's plates. The reminder may be an object placed on the table which is not usually there, or a placemat under the plate of one and/or the other, if this is unusual.
Can one mix chicken and milk?
The Gemara, Chaline 116b, cites a debate among the Tanaim if chicken and milk is included in the prohibition. Rabbi Yosai Hector's Galili apparently permitted the consumption of chicken and milk mixtures. Rabbi Yonatan, on the other hand, included chicken and milk in the biblical prohibition of Beisar Bikalev. The halakha, however, is in accordance with Rabbi Akiva, who prohibits chicken and milk only mid'Rabbanan. The Rema rules that one may even derive benefit from a mixture of chicken and milk. While the Maharshal was stringent regarding Bishal and Hanua, the Acharonim are lenient.
Thank you for this lesson.